on this episode of the Venus Cuckoldress podcast.
She's been gradually warming up to it. This is a discussion we've been having for a few years now, and it went from absolute hatred of the subject even being broached to now it's more or less casual acceptance and kind of a dread, I guess you could say. If I were to, give her to another man, it seems to her as if it were I were pimping her, and I really didn't even know how to respond to that.
Being an empowered woman, when I heard that he was saying that his wife had the impression that he was giving her to another man and being pimped out, that bothered me because nobody owns you.
He used those words dread and apprehension when thinking about how to actually take the steps into making this happen. This idea of being with other guys is just too terrifying for her and always will be. I mean, this is just not something that she wants to do. And that may be the case. Certainly the language that she's using is indicating that she wants nothing to do with this. I think this caller needs to understand or at least accept or consider the fact that, look, this might never be for her.
Welcome to the Venus Cuckoldress podcast, a place to learn all things cuckolding for the curious, the passionate, and the sexually empowered woman who wants it all. Make sure you go to venuscuckoldress.com to subscribe to the podcast and check out the Venus blog. And of course, if you love it, share it. Now, sit back, make yourself comfortable, and enjoy the show with your host, Venus.
Welcome to this episode of the Venus Cuckoldress podcast. I'm your host, Venus. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited because I have some news and announcements to go over with you. I have hired an assistant to help me with all the work and the projects that I have going on right now. And I can't tell you how excited I am because there's a lot happening. First of all, the vault is getting a full makeover. I'm finally going to be able to have longer videos. Yay! So keep an eye out for that. And we have a call for contributors for the blog right now. So if you are interested about possibly writing a guest post for the venuscuckoldress.com blog, then please see the show notes for the link and where you need to go to get all of the details for that. So that's pretty exciting. And I'm just giving a heads up to all the ladies out there that I am planning some private events for women in this lifestyle who are either curious or experienced or everything in between. So if you would love to connect with other women in this lifestyle, please send me an email at venus@venuscuckoldress.com. And I'm really excited about this new thing because I love to get to know my listeners on a more personal level. And this is going to really give me the opportunity to do that. I have a new tier on Patreon that's for connecting with me by voice. So it's connected to Discord through their voice feature. And it's super easy. I get to chat with my Patreon supporters and get to know them better, listen to their questions, maybe give advice, that sort of thing. And I tried it out yesterday. It is so fun and so easy. So the link for that will be in the show notes, or you can go to patreon.com/Venus Cuckoldress to support the show and get all the perks. All right. Last but not least. Oh my goodness. I have been so busy. People have been asking me a lot. So what's it like now that you're working full time on the podcast? How is it going? What's your life like? And I'm like, it's fucking awesome. I love it. I'm doing what I love. And I've been very, very busy. I was a guest on the What Women and Other Wonderful Humans Want podcast. And that aired this week on Tuesday. And you know what? The host, he's amazing. John, aka Hi There Catsuit. He's so fantastic. He asked me so many questions that I have never been asked before. It was a really cool, fun interview, and I loved it. So again, that link, you can find it in the show notes for today's podcast episode. Now, I've also sat down and recorded an episode as a guest on the Shameless Sex podcast. And these ladies are fucking awesome. Love them. That was a lot of fun. That airs next week. So I've got kind of like the back-to-back thing going on, which is super fun. Anyway, I have been busy, very busy. And of course, I've been still doing the weekly mini episodes for all of my Patreon supporters. Those are released on Patreon. And I have to say, those have been really fucking fun. Like the last one I did I was kind of like revisiting some of the blog posts from like a while back, right in the beginning, and revisiting some of the more hot and steamy posts and talking about that. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I've had some great feedback so far about that. But anyway, here's a little preview of what that little episode was all about. Here it is. As my eyes water, my mascara runs, and I take it. I take it all, and I love it. Those moments were incredible. And in the vault, he's in there. He's in some of those videos. And I just like, you'll hear him speaking. There's very few guys in those videos who speak, but you'll hear him talking in his low voice and the shit he's saying to me. Oh, it's so incredible. It's just so fucking hot as fuck. Anyway, so that was the very first post that I wrote about him. The second one was December 1st of 2019, and it's called Swept Away. This was also a favorite post of mine. Again, I was just wrapped up in it all with this guy. So yeah, there's a little sneak peek about what the mini episode was like from last time. Anyway, if you are a Patreon supporter, you get these mini episodes every single week, every Wednesday. And they are a lot of fun, as you can see. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started with today's show. My good friend Ann Cuckoldress is here, and we're going to tackle a listener question about whether or not he's pimping out his wife. All right, so today I have with me Cuckoldress Ann. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
You're welcome. I'm just excited to be here, Venus. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Okay, so you're going to help me answer this listener question, which I'm really excited to get into. But first, I'd like to talk a little bit about your blog. So you've been writing now for how long?
I think it's been about 5 years. The first one was in 2016, going on 5 years. And it was a way for me to kind of journal our dynamic into cuckolding. James and I have been, married for a long time, and when we started swinging, and then that, eventually evolved into he wasn't fucking other women in the swinging dynamic. I was fucking other men, not in a group setting. And then someone asked, "Are you a cuckold couple?" Well, we found Cuckold Marriage, the website where my blog is, and we just started documenting the journey. And we've evolved so much. I think I just posted a new blog entry. It's a surprise, so I think everybody should take a look. It's kind of a fun way to present the information. But I think it was our 20th entry. So wow. We do there's no schedule to it, but if there's something significant that we feel is worth sharing, we'll do it. And we've had some really good feedback from people, and it's just one more resource for people who are interested in cuckolding to hear from real cuckold couples who are, going through this journey, because it's continuing. It doesn't stop.
Right. Does James contribute to the blog as well?
He does. He's actually written 2 or 3 of them. And we'll edit we team edit sometimes, but he always helps with the media. Like he will help find the photos and, he's better with the WordPress
Yeah.
and, cutting things apart. But, primarily I do all the writing. But he has contributed like 2 or 3. And the blog, the post before this last one that we just posted on Wednesday, he wrote that one.
Yeah.
And so I think it's good to have, it's nice hearing from women and it's nice hearing from men on their perspective.
Yeah.
And and especially because we've been married, I know a lot of younger couples that are going into this, but, I think it's good to hear everybody's stories if they're willing to share.
Yeah, absolutely. What's been your favorite post so far?
My favorite post was, I think they get better as I become more empowered, a more empowered slut.
Yeah.
My favorite post is the one, it's like 3 posts ago. And I talk about this adventure that I had at a hotel in my hometown. I used to think that, I had to travel and do all these things, but I arranged, this fucking, I think 2 or 3 different men over a period of Sunday to Monday, and just the dynamic of it all happening and the different things. It's pretty hot, I think. And there are some audio clips embedded in it. And I think audio clips that I shared with James. And so I think that really, it tells a lot. So
yeah, I would have to say that within this lifestyle, there's a lot of inspiration that goes into writing about the feelings and the love and the connection and the relationship and all of the sort of complexities and the nuances of cuckolding. But the most fun parts are sharing those really hot as fuck moments.
Well, and I've changed so much as a woman for the better, but I remember early on thinking, I had to have one goal and have this exclusive, 3-way dynamic. And then I'm like, no, I love variety and I love, the variety that it gets. And I just think you can still have great friends with multiple men. It's just to have someone exclusive and, people are like, we'll ever move in with you and all that sort of thing. That just doesn't appeal to me anymore. But at one point, that's what I was reading. It's like, okay, well, I'm looking for that one person. And it was just so hard to find anyone who was willing to do that. So it's been interesting. But yeah, I think the more adventurous I get, the more empowered I am and the more fun I'm having. And
do you think that just happens naturally with women in this kind of relationship where they just over time naturally become more confident, more assertive, and more willing to ask for what they want and learn what they want?
I said, absolutely.
Yeah.
I without a doubt, at least those that I have met, and probably, you and I have, a lot of mutual friends, I feel like absolutely, and I guess I was fortunate because James and I discovered cuckolding together. It wasn't like him saying, do you want to do this? I have this fantasy. I think it'd be so great. We were waiting for a date. He ended up canceling, of course, no show. And we were sitting at a bar and he texted us like, sorry, can't make it. Are you guys a cuckold couple? And we're sitting at the bar and we have our phones and we both start Googling it. And we find like cuckold marriage. We started reading it. It's like, we've been doing this for a really long time. We just didn't know it.
That's amazing.
But, yeah. It's like, we are.
Well, that's what we are. There's a word for it.
There's a word for it. He rarely, he was always sitting downstairs or I was upstairs or wherever. And, we've evolved. He's involved sometimes. He's always included.
Yeah.
It just depends on the degree of it and who I'm with and the circumstance. But my next blog, the blog that I just posted, I think those that are listening that follow me will really appreciate it. Just about it, because I talk about the many different ways that I share my joy with him.
Yeah.
Whether it's,
I love that you go into that because so many people think that there's just one way, like just one way of cuckolding. That's it.
Well, I think that obviously, oral sex is really great, but I think what happens in like porn is they don't see the emotional aspect of it. I mean, they see that happening, and yeah, people love it, but there were probably all these other things that were happening, not just that. So there's so many ways that women can share with their partner, their cuckold. And I just think it's great if women can just be empowered. It's just like, I don't want to do it this way tonight, hon. Can we do it? Let's try it. I'm going to try this.
Yeah.
And so I just encourage everyone, if they're curious, to listen. And Venus, I'll give you the link if you want to share it.
Yeah.
I think you have the link to my blog.
Yes, I have your link to your blog on my recommended resource page of my website, venuscuckoldress.com. So I would absolutely encourage all of my listeners to go and have a read if you have never done it before, or if you haven't done it recently. She has new posts, so definitely go and check it out. All right, getting to our listener question. When I got this question come in, I was like, you know what? I don't think I can tackle this by myself. I need some help on this one. So this is why I called on you, and to help me out with this one, because this is a pretty heavy question. So I'm going to go ahead and play it, and then let's tackle it after that. Here it is.
Hello, Venus. Quick question. I was speaking to my wife about the possibility of being in a cuckold marriage with her, and she's been gradually warming up to it. This is a discussion we've been having for a few years now, and it went from absolute hatred of the subject even being broached to now it's more or less casual acceptance and kind of a dread, I guess you could say, or at least some apprehension in taking our first steps into it. But the question I have for you is she had brought up a point that I really didn't know how to refute, and that was to her, it seemed like almost as if if we were to go through with this and I were to, give her to another man, that in her mind, it seems to her as if I were pimping her, and I really didn't even know how to respond to that. So I'm definitely curious as to what your thoughts on that are, and potentially what I should do as her husband going forward. Thank you.
All right, so there it is.
Wow.
Oh, it's a heavy one. Okay. So when you first listened to that question, what were your immediate thoughts?
Being an empowered woman, when I heard that he was saying that his wife had the impression that he was giving her to another man and being pimped out, that bothered me, because nobody owns you, right?
Yeah.
And it depends on their marriage. Maybe he does. I don't know. But I just felt like that was an issue. And because of him saying that, it has turned this whole idea into something from something positive to something negative, a negative spin. So obviously we weren't in the room and we couldn't hear the conversation. So we don't know the context of it, but over the years, that part bothered me, that he was giving her and she was feeling like she was being pimped out. So in that context, it sounds like it's all about him and not about her.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally. Yeah, I felt the same way. I was like, oh, this poor woman, I feel bad for her. She does not want to do this. And the way, because she used that word pimping out, I was like, okay, if you really look at the meaning of that word, it's where, she's feeling like she's forced to do a sexual act or scenario. And it's exactly solely for someone else's gain or benefit. So she has no benefit in it and she does not want to do it. That's what pimping is. So when I heard that language, I was like, that says a lot. She does not want to do this, and she feels like she's being forced to. And you're absolutely right, where you brought up where he said that he would be giving her to another man. There was those words, giving her to another man. I was like, this brings up the words wife sharing, reclaiming kind of terminology within this lifestyle that I can't fucking stand.
Well, you and I, we've discussed this. We're on the same.
Yeah.
We're on the same page there. And he has turned this into his idea and something that he wants. And it's not about her. Yeah. Like, he's wanting this. And my question is, why does he want it? Like, does he just want to watch her fuck another guy? And he wants to make off to it? Or does he truly feel like he doesn't satisfy her sexually and she's been unhappy? Like, there's a lot missing where we can really fully comment. Like, my mind is going now. It's like, okay, so.
Those are very good questions. Absolutely. Like, is this all about his sexual satisfaction or gratification, or is this about him giving her the gift of non-monogamy or sexual non-monogamy and saying, look, there's much more you can have out there. And I want you to be able to experience this because you will love it and appreciate it. If it is about that, then that's something else. But when he said that she was gradually warming up with it over several years. Okay, that's
probably like,
that's a while.
She's probably like, okay, whatever. Okay.
And there was absolute hatred in the beginning. And I was like, okay, I get that. There's sometimes a real knee-jerk reaction from women who don't understand it. Okay, I get it. But now he said, casual acceptance. So she's given up the fight and just kind of listening to him, I guess. But he said, he used those words, dread and apprehension, when thinking about how to actually take the steps into making this happen. She feels dread and apprehension. Apprehension, I get. I mean, you're nervous, anxiety, thinking about actually doing it, but dread, like, she does not want to do this at all.
Right. And sometimes, right. I think, if he's not putting it in a positive, sexy light of like, how can she even put a positive spin on it? I really think communication is so important. And if you don't, and I've learned this, you've learned that, you have to be more explicit as to why. Like, why do you want this?
Yeah.
And this is about your wife, you're celebrating her sexuality. You're not giving her anything, but you're supporting her in going for something more. And maybe she thinks your sex life is fine. Like, maybe she's at this point where ain't broke, don't fix it. Everything's good.
Yeah.
So I wish we had more, we could get more into the detail of what is actually going on. But I mean, I think he's got to be constantly communicating, both of them together, about what he needs, what he is hoping for, but what about her? Like, is he sparking conversation? Are they really talking to one another?
Yes.
And those are hard conversations, and it takes time. But what kind is he presenting fantasies to her of things that? Oh, I think this would be great. Have you ever thought about being with another man besides me? And just kind of getting her reaction, as opposed to, you don't have to say cuckolding right off the bat, right? You can just say, have you ever thought about this? Because I think cuckold, that word, might kind of freak people out.
Oh, definitely.
But that's right. But
Well, you're absolutely right in that, like, there's two possibilities here. Either the communication has been wrong from the start, or, wrong, and or the intentions of what he's doing here are entirely self-serving, or are they, is this truly for her? Or the other option is that she is just not into this. This is not her. She does not want this. She is comfortable and wants sexual monogamy. Like you said, maybe their sex life is great. She doesn't feel like it needs to change. Or this idea of being with other guys is just too terrifying for her and always will be. I mean, this is just not something that she wants to do. And that may be the case. Certainly the language that she's using is indicating that, like, she wants nothing to do with this. And so I think this caller needs to understand, or at least accept or consider the fact that, look, this might never be for her. She may try it for him. She may eventually get to that point where she tries it and she does it reluctantly. She'll do it for her husband only and, not for herself. And she'll go through with it. Maybe she'll like it, but maybe she'll absolutely hate it. And that'll be it. Like, she'll be like, now I don't want to do that again. Or, if he continues to pressure her to do it again, she'll do it again. But eventually she's just going to resent the fuck out of him for it and be like, you know what? Well, I think you're making me do this and I want to do it.
Well, and I think depending on where she is in her life, I mean, women deal with a lot of shit, right? As they say, women can juggle many balls and men can only juggle two.
I've not heard that, but I like it.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
Oh, yeah. And so she probably has all these things happening, and maybe she does. I can't assume. But sometimes because the communication hasn't happened, it's just like, okay, that's one more thing I have to figure out.
Yeah.
Like, but if, I don't know, in a way, I wish that, they could have more communication and, he could, I think, them listening to your podcast together, reading blogs by women, listening to podcasts, listening to real women's voices in this journey, that have tackled this, who have gone on this journey, I think would really help her. And I think there she could say, this is fantastic, or she could really say, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But if you don't share information with her, you don't share resources, it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think.
And I think that it's easy enough for us to say, like, look, you should work on the communication. You should, tweak the communication a little bit or pay more attention to certain areas or whatever. It's easy enough for us to say that. But for couples who struggle in that area, they just maybe don't have the skills in their bucket to be able to do that properly. There's always the option of reaching out to a kink-friendly relationship counselor, and they are out there. And
for sure,
it's absolutely worthwhile for you to do that. If you know already that the communication part is where you're struggling, like there's just a disconnect, you're not quite connecting where you need to, then reach out and find a kink-friendly therapist or counselor to help you guys. And it'll be the best money you've ever spent. I promise you. Because you're going to figure out the answers to the questions and figure out solutions to the barriers and have a better understanding. And not only that, but learn the skills that you need to learn for communicating.
Right. And, I just think that however Rob is presenting this idea, he needs to emphasize that this is for her. This is like, this is all about her. And he wants that would make him happy if he saw her taken to this other, world because of this sexual satisfaction. I don't know. It's somehow the switch, things need to be flipped, the conversation. So it is more of a positive than a negative.
If it's presented as a gift for each other, then that's a different thing to consider. But if it's just simply a one-sided gift, then it's not really a gift for her. It's a gift for you.
Right.
Right. And don't use that language of giving her to another man. She's not a piece of furniture or clothing. Like, this is not something you just lend out like that. Like, don't do that.
Exactly. And you're not sharing her really. I mean, you're gifting her. It's
a gift.
it's a gift. You are gifting her and you're supporting her, but you need to support her however it turns out,
Yeah.
And she needs, besides the pimping, why does she think that? Like, really get into the meat of things. They're hard conversations to have, but like Venus, like you said, there are professionals out there who deal with this who might really be very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, with cuckolding is all about her. It's about her. It's about her sexual empowerment, her increased confidence, her ability to sit in the driver's seat and decide where she wants to go, where they want to go, and what she's comfortable with and what she's not comfortable with, and make those decisions are for her. So this whole terminology around wife sharing or, giving her to another man is taking that empowerment from her and not allowing her to be in the driver's seat to make those decisions about which road she wants to go down. So that's what the part I don't appreciate about the terminology. It is not about her. It takes that power away, and I don't like it. What absolutely makes me love cuckolding versus hot wifing is that it's about her in cuckolding. I mean, it's a two-way street. There's benefits that goes both ways. It's seemingly selfish, but it's not. And because they both love it that way. But the basic principle of cuckolding is that she is the one to make those decisions. It's about her and her sexuality and her exploring that sexuality. It's not about the husband saying, I want you to do this, and I'm going to give you out to this guy because him and I have already talked and we came up with a day and time that I want to give you to him. It's like, no, that is not sexy. Don't fucking do that. Don't talk like that. I'm not like a piece of fucking furniture.
Right. And then say she says yes and finds this hot as fuck guy to have sex with. Is he willing to not be there? What if she doesn't want him in the room? What if he, and then is he willing to accept all the emotions that come with the cuckold? Like, it's not an easy thing. So it'll be interesting to see how things play out with Rob. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for helping me to answer this question. I really appreciate it. I could not tackle this one by myself. I probably would just go on like this long ass rant about wife sharing. But anyway, I really appreciate your insight and your input for this one. Thank you. Where can people find you? I know I've said that the link to your blog is on my website, venuscuckoldress.com, on the recommended resource tab. So where else can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter, and it's at Anne, ANNE, and then Cuckoldress. The A and the C are uppercase. And there, again, I try to just post snippets, things that I think are relevant in our journey. Not often, but I do have, quite a few posts from over the years. So, look for me on Twitter.
Awesome. All right. Thanks again so much for joining me.
Thank you. It was great. I had a lot of fun. Thank you.
All right. That's a wrap for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining me. Make sure you go to venuscuckoldress.com to subscribe to the podcast and check out the blog as well. There's a lot of new stuff on there. And as always, be sure to check me out on Twitter at CuckoldressV. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.